Hey guys, it's Brooke here. I'm going to start off with an apology. Again, I know that's kind of just how I start my videos now. I'm sorry I didn't upload last week. I was going through something personal and I just wasn't up to filming anything or uploading. And in the end, on the day that I'm supposed to upload, I actually really wasn't feeling well. So I wasn't able to upload anything. I promise everything is okay. I've just been going through something personal during January and it's all good. It's all been sorted now. So I'm ready to continue on with the rest of my year with a more positive outlook. Now I'm going to be doing a review of a book I read in just a couple of days, Loner by Georgina Young, and it was a very interesting book. I gave it 4 stars. I was actually kind of struggling with what rating to give this book because at first I was enjoying it, but I had some issues with it. But I was still really enjoying this book and the format and the writing style. Like Georgina Young, I'm going to be reading so many more books by this author. She is so very talented and I'm so glad that I got this book. It's also not very long, so I did kind of put off finishing the book. I had about 47 pages and it took me 2 days to finish it because I just did not want to say goodbye to this book. It was really enjoyable. Before I get into my actual review of this book, let's get into the synopsis. Loner is an art school dropout and to be honest, she has no idea why she's dropped out. She will come up with reason after reason, but none of it seems right to her. And so she floats through the rest of her life feeling a little bit like aimless. But no one else is really aware of how she's feeling at the moment. They all think she has a plan up her sleeve somewhere, but she spends her days just wandering about, being a bit lazy, and also just working casually at the skate rink. She's terrible of how aimless she has become and wants to find a way to fix everything, but just does not know where to start. And she watches her friends and her family seem to blossom in their life and find exactly what they're after, only to find out they might be as aimless as her. First off, this is such a relatable book. I related to Loner so much, but I also felt very attacked by her because I know what it's like to drop out of a course. I've dropped out of a writing course and I felt a bit like a fraud from doing that, also because it cost quite a bit, but also it wasn't right and it was too much for my anxiety. So I actually understand that, but I also felt very attacked. I also think this is a brilliant book for anyone from the ages of 18 to their early to mid 20s. It is a really good read. It will show you so much of what you may experience in your early 20s. People in their late 20s might think this is a bit young for them and might even just remind them of how they were back then. But it is a really good book that I actually really recommend for anyone who's just in their early 20s, who's just started their 20s. Maybe a really good book for you to pick up. It will teach you a lot. I really love that this book is set in Australia. If you don't know and you're new to my channel, I'm Australian. I'm originally from Perth, but I now live in Victoria, which is where this book is set. It's set in Melbourne and it is such a funny environment because Melbourne is kind of like the LA of Australia. There's very unique personalities in Melbourne that you won't really find anywhere else, and it's just really quite funny. It's kind of like being in an alternate reality and it's everything that you are kind of don't expect from an Australian, but you see it in Melbourne and you're like, oh, okay. But it's so rare to find books that are written by an Australian and the book is set in Australia. Quite often they're set in like a mythical land or America or most likely UK. It happens all the time and it's so amazing to find books that are set in the country that I live in. I really enjoyed the writing style. It was really calming and easy to get into. I really quite enjoyed the approach of it being a bit more like an internal monologue and almost like a narration. So it's not actually in Loner's perspective, although you are kind of reading from her perspective at the same time. It's in third person, but everything you are aware of is to the extent of what Loner is aware of. So you don't actually know anything much about anyone else unless Loner knows it. However, an issue with the writing is that there is so much telling and not much showing. You're not really there for a lot of stuff. There will be kind of like so the format is a title and then a paragraph or even a couple pages long. It's not really chapters. It's more kind of like an essay, if that makes sense. I quite liked the format of it. It made it very easy to read because sometimes I just wanted to fit in a couple of chapters while waiting for something or something like that, or like if I was waiting for my dinner or something. I thought that was really quite handy. but it's in this type of way of there'll be like a title and then they'll explain something that has just happened, but you weren't there to see it. It'll be something a bit more like you'll be there for the lead up of it and you'll see something that's part of it, but then it will go like fade to black in a way, and then you'll be there for the next scene and it will basically just explain what has just happened in the part that you missed, that you kind of wish you were there for. I found that quite frustrating and I wish I was there for a lot more of the things that happened, so that way I can understand how certain things happened. And also there is a very serious lack of dialogue. If you're like me, you really enjoy dialogue, but for some reason in this book, I didn't mind the lack of it. I understood why there wasn't much dialogue. Lona is very much stuck in her own world and she really struggles with anxiety, and it's a very severe form of anxiety that's quite crippling. Something I really get. I struggle with it myself. I went through so many years where I could barely look anyone in the eye. I still struggle to this day, and I really struggle speaking to strangers unless I'm at work, which is a completely different deal. But it's very good to see a realistic approach towards anxiety, and I can see why there was a serious lack of dialogue. Lona really doesn't like to talk to people, so that's okay. The characters are quite interesting because they're both realistic and unrealistic in other ways. So it's the type of characters where they'll have these a little bit like manic pixie dream girl personalities, but then you'll peel away at it and you'll find out these are real people, and it's kind of as if Lona didn't really know these people to begin with, and I actually found that quite interesting. They also were very flawed. Every single character had a flaw, and I thought that was really important because I don't like that this is the perfect character and this is the gentle character that's always perfect and nice to everybody, and this character is just horrible. There's none of that. Everyone is a flawed character and they all have their own issues and personal lives and such, and I actually really quite liked that. The characters are quite interesting because they're both realistic and unrealistic in other ways. So it's the type of characters where they'll have these a little bit like manic pixie dream girl personalities, but then you'll peel away at it and you'll find out these are real people, and it's kind of as if Lona didn't really know these people to begin with, and I actually found that quite interesting. They also were very flawed. Every single character had a flaw, and I thought that was really important because I don't like that this is the perfect character and this is the gentle character that's always perfect and nice to everybody, and this character is just horrible. There's none of that. Everyone is a flawed character and they all have their own issues and personal lives and such, and I actually really quite liked that. Now we're going into the spoiler section. If you want to continue on with this video but you haven't read the book, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to spoil you in a couple of things and I'm very sorry about that. But continue at your own risk. Throughout the first quarter of the book, there are these sections called The Reason and The Real Reasons. And basically these are the reasons why Lona dropped out of uni. Something I found kind of interesting though was because they were all quite frivolous and silly reasons, and they were all vastly different from each other. And as you would continue, it was almost like she was grasping straws as to what was the reason, only to find out that she's kind of in denial. She's lying to herself because she doesn't actually know what the real reason is as to why she dropped out of uni. She doesn't know. She just fell out of love with it and she couldn't do it anymore. And I thought that was quite an interesting approach towards it. And you see it as she slowly realizes herself that she is the reason why she dropped out of uni and no one else's fault. So she originally blamed it on the curriculum, then she blamed it on the teachers telling her what to do, then she would also blame it on the girls that would paint their nails and talk about The Bachelor, and then she would complain on the fact that she liked being told what to do so that way she could fight something and feel like she had a reason for something and that scared her and things like that. Like, it was very interesting how some of them made sense. Like, I hated being told what to do in art, but also you could tweak it to your own, and sometimes you can just do art in your free time. So just do what the curriculum wants you to do and do the art that you want to do in your free time, or twist it in a way that it makes it feel like it's your own idea. Because the thing is with art, they're prompts. They're not telling you how to do something in a very specific way. They give you a prompt and then you show them what you have done with that prompt. It's the same with a writing prompt, for example. I only know this because I've done art and I got into a few art courses, so that's mostly just coming from my own experiences. I don't know what university is like when you're doing art. That is a vastly different thing to what I've experienced. I've mostly just gone to like workshops at the local uni or something like that when I lived in Perth. Next, I want to go into the main character, Lona. I found Lona really quite interesting. However, she was a really frustrating character to read from the mind of because she was extremely selfish. She would listen to her friends' problems and somehow make it all about her. She would make her feel uncomfortable that she knew there's something about her best friend. It made her feel uncomfortable that she knew her friend wanted to break up with her boyfriend. It made her feel uncomfortable that George wanted her to meet his parents. It was this constant her friends were going through something and somehow it made her feel uncomfortable, and somehow this is how it was affecting her. She wasn't thinking or talking about how it affected the person that she is friends with or in a relationship with. There is also a scene in the book, it's in the chapter The Foyer, and it's after George has just finished a recital and his parents are congratulating him and they're talking to him in the foyer, and the parents invite them all out to dinner, and Lona says, "No, I'm sorry, I'm going to go home." And she sees that it's hurt George. She hasn't put an effort in to get to know his family, and she's constantly complaining that they don't like her, but she hasn't put in the effort. But she expects them to just start liking her. And it's just this type of thing of, I understand you have anxiety, and I understand you really don't like going out. I'm the same type of person, but also you get to know your boyfriend's family. And the thing is, she was doing this selfish stuff and then saying to herself, I love him, and then admitting to herself that this was the wrong thing to do. She even said to Tab that this was the wrong thing, that she should have gone. Just fake a phone call or something, or say, oh, actually, no, I am feeling up to going out. I'd be more than happy to, thank you for the offer. Like, just change your mind or act like everything is okay. Like, say, no, I'd much rather go home, or I'm just going to get dinner on the way home, when your boyfriend's family wants to spend time with you and they want to get to know you. Whether or not they like you or approve of your relationship, they're still doing the right thing, which is the responsible thing, and yet she didn't want to do it, and I actually thought that was quite rude. It would also be other things, like if her and George were having an argument, she would make it all about her. If George would bring up an issue, she would just start yelling at him and in a way make it all about her and blame it on him. Anytime George would try and bring up this selfishness, she would go, and you're trying to expect me to change, I'm not going to change for you. And usually, like, this actually all started, like this entire thing of I'm not going to change for you actually started from the fact that she had a single bed and wouldn't get a double bed, despite the fact that she wanted to sleep with her boyfriend, but she also wanted her boyfriend to sleep on the couch. Like, she never knew what she wanted. She was insanely indecisive, and honestly, she didn't have the emotional responsibility or anything like that. She wasn't mature enough to actually be in a relationship, and she was treating a lot of the people around her like dirt, especially George and Tab. She just treated them both like dirt, and it wasn't very nice. I'll be super honest with you, I was very happy when they broke up. However, despite Lona's selfishness, she actually is a really caring person towards people who she sees fit. For instance, her grandpa. That was actually my favorite storyline in this book, was the storyline of her and her grandpa, because it started off with them not very close and ending with them being very close. And it was that type of closeness where they could sit together in a room in comfortable silence, and also because they shared a love and passion for reading. So for instance, her grandpa can't read because of his eyes. I'm not too sure what's going on with his eyes. I don't know if he wears glasses, it's not really mentioned, but he's now old and his eyes don't work as well. And so he can't read, and he's really sad about it. So she's trying to find a way for him to still enjoy the love for reading. So for instance, she reads to him and he listens. She tries to buy him a CD of an audiobook, but he doesn't listen to it. Either he doesn't know how to make it work, or he just doesn't like the fact that he can't read. She doesn't know, she doesn't find out in the end. But it's the effort that she's putting in to show that she loves this person. So she deeply loves her grandparents, she loves her parents and her brother, and she does love her brother's girlfriend. So she does love her family, but she doesn't really show it. She shows it in very odd ways. And that was the way that she was showing her grandpa that she loves him. And even the scene where she was showing him the Franken books, I loved that scene so much. I didn't really like the Franken books as much. It was a cool idea, but it's also the thing where she was doing this to his books without asking him, and it's okay. It's like cool that he was okay with it, but she should have at least asked him or run it by him rather than destroying someone else's books. I really did like that she was okay having nights in though. Myself, I really like having a good night in. I don't really want to go out too often, and it was just something that I really quite enjoyed, because we see it all the time in like YA and NA, the type of the closeted, scared, anxious character and the rambunctious group of misfits, bringing them out of their shell. I like seeing a character who enjoys having nights in, because I enjoy having nights in. I don't like going to clubs. I like going to pubs, but I don't like going to clubs, and I don't want to go to parties and things like that. And it's good seeing that in a character, and that way more 18 to people in their early 20s can relate to. I can relate to her in that regard as well, because it's totally okay to not want to go out. I've been going on quite a bit about Lona now, and I'm just going to go into a couple of just general opinions on the book that I wanted to talk about, and after that, that will be all for today. I found Tab's storyline really quite interesting. She was my favourite character, but then towards in the middle, she just disappears and we don't understand why. She seems very depressed and struggling, and you find out that she's actually flunking out of uni, and she's really struggling as well, and her mum's really worried about her. And it's this type of thing of she's trying to figure it out, but she's also kind of going on a bender at the same time. And it's one of those very sad situations until she finds out exactly what she wants to do, and she's okay with not knowing what's going to happen. And it's basically she's going through a similar thing that Lona is going through, only she only went through it for about a month, whereas Lona's been going through it for about a year. She admits to Lona that she knows that everyone thinks that she's the happiest person in the world and she couldn't possibly have any flaws, when really she hides all of her anxieties and the fact that she feels so lost behind smiles and laughter and jokes. I thought that was very relatable because it's something that a lot of women do, and even a lot of men do, especially if you're the class clown or someone who's usually really happy and you feel like you have to hide it because you might be feeling a little bit down on a day, but you ramp up the hypeness and the silliness so that way people don't ask you if you're okay. I loved the art show at the end. I thought that was really awesome and really well done. It was amazing that she found something to do and a way to fill her time. And again, with those Franken books, I didn't mention it earlier, but I love that she found a way to put that negative energy and what she was feeling into something positive, because it helped her and it gave her something to do. I really like to read when I'm feeling down, or I really like to write when I'm feeling down. Like, everyone has their way of dealing with it, and with hers it was making these Franken books. I'm sorry, Frankenstein. I call them Franken books. But it was the type of thing of, again, I just wish she asked her grandpa. That would have been like a 5-second scene. That's literally it. And also there was a scene, and I thought it was so weird, at the art show, one of the artists brought like a paper mache thing that you hit with a bat, and it usually has lollies in it. I forgot what the word is at the moment. Piñata. There we go. She brought in a paper mache piñata that she made, and it was of the Monopoly Man. They were all whacking it, seeing what was going to be inside. It was used tampons. Okay, I'm all for let's normalize periods, let's tell girls that don't be ashamed of your period, because I'm not ashamed of my period. It was just more the fact of that would smell so bad. Not only that, but that is extremely unhygienic and a biohazard and just genuinely not safe. Like, that's an OH&S issue if that were at work. That's just not okay. I didn't like that part. I thought that was really gross, because the thing is, it's a biohazard. It's not safe. Blood needs to be disposed of. Tampons belong in the bin once they're used. And it was just the type of thing of, from the sounds of it, all I was wondering was, where did she get these tampons from and how did she store them? Because they couldn't have just been coming from her, because from the sounds of it, it would have been a massive one, like a massive period lasting at least a month. And it couldn't have been, because because that would be an issue there. That would probably be a medical issue. And it was just so weird. And it was just like, I don't understand it. And it kind of ruined their art show, because then her parents didn't stay, all of the guests left, and they all ended up having to clean up blood and used tampons off the floor. If I had a friend do that, I would just go, you clean that up, I'm not touching it. You did this, I'm leaving, bye. Better get that blood off the carpet so that way we get our bond back. Like, no. That's all I can think is just the blood and the germs and all that type of stuff. It's nothing to do with the fact that it was a period blood, it's more the fact that it was blood, full stop. Not safe, especially also because now that of the pandemic and everything, I've become a lot more germ conscious than I was in high school, and I've become a bit more of a germaphobe. So all I could just think about was the germs and the possible like illnesses you can get from that, and the smell. Oh. And they put all of that in the book. So it wasn't like it was promoting it. It was just more like a, no, I don't like that type of thing. And it was just quite interesting. But all in all, a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It really helped me out when I was having a bit of a difficult weekend. And it honestly was so helpful. I really enjoyed this book, and I'll be reading so much more from Georgina Young and also that publishing company. I'll put the publishing company name right here because I've kind of just forgotten at the moment. I'm sorry. I've got a bit of brain fog today, so I'm forgetting words and such. But honestly, amazing book. I highly recommend it. If you're someone who is from Australia or have been to Melbourne or live in Victoria, you will actually quite enjoy this book because the culture in it is hilarious. Like the Melbourne culture is so funny in this. And also it has a lot of places in Australia in it as well. And it will, in my opinion, if you are not from Australia, read this. It can tell you about some beautiful places that you can come visit, hopefully one day when this is all over. Anywho, hope you're doing well and that you have an amazing day or night. I'm not good at outros, and goodbye.